Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Adam Taylor NBA show. Joined by my boy, my compadre, my co-host in crime moving forward on this show, Mr. Wayne Breezy. What's good, Wayne?
What's good, brother, man? Man, I don't know how much we can say was good after watching that debacle last night. But listen, the good news is there's two games left. If you ask the Warrior fans, they'll say that there's one game left. But we know Boston digs deep because Green runs deep. So there's two games left, bro. And I'm looking for some fireworks coming out the next two games.
Yo, scary part for me. This was the first back-to-back loss of the postseason.
That's just, I, you know what? And we said that Boston doesn't lose back to back. But can I share something with you, bro? Like, on the last game that we played, I remember I was out, I was doing a show, and I said Boston has to win this game. They were at home. They have to win this game. If they lose this game, they're gonna lose in San Francisco. They're gonna lose that game. Then they're gonna win game six, and then it's gonna come down to game seven. And when they lost the other night, I was saying to myself, all right, cool. Boston lost this game. Uh, they when I say Boston lost, I really mean Boston. I don't care how many points Steph Curry had. When you got more than 17 turnovers a game, you kind of lose the game, right? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how much you want to credit their defense because you know how to you analyze it. But Golden State's defense isn't that great enough to make Boston this bad, right? And Boston just literally are just playing carelessly with the ball. And then they did it again last night. And that magic number, bro, is 16. I would love to see Boston. In the third quarter, Boston had two turnovers. And there were two forced turnovers, too, right? They didn't even have to be turnovers. They were just careless with the ball two times. And that was the most amazing comeback in the third. You stopped a third quarter dominant team. You held them, and obviously they hit the buzzer beater to go up by one at the end of the third, and it kind of changed trajectory. And I definitely want to talk about that when you're ready because I felt like that was the pivotal point of the game. That Jordan Poole shot, and then I'll explain why later.
Yeah, I mean, in that third, everything the Celtics just altered the way they were playing, right? So my biggest thing in the last two games, game four, game five, has been Boston are allowing, and I like to call it dictating the terms of engagement. So Golden State are dictating the terms of engagement. They're the ones dictating the pace at which the game's played. They're the one dictating who's going to have the ball in their hands, who they're going to sag off. They're basically telling you, like, hey, we want you to drive the rock so we can collapse on you. So they're playing high ball pressure. They're picking guys up high, allowing that drive, and then rotating over with active hands. And that's how they're getting their strips. That's how they're like blocking out when guys are going to the rim. All of a sudden, they're showing a crowd, three or four guys. And they're super versatile in the way they can switch back out of it. So they'll collapse on you. You'll kick it out. They'll scramble back, get back in your face, force the ball back out of the next guy's hands, and they want you playing at a frantic pace because that suits the Warriors. Transition basketball, early shot clock shots. That's Golden State's game. What Boston does well is they push the pace into the half court, then they slow it down and look for their screening sets. They hunt mismatches, and they work for their buckets. You'll get up the floor in 2-3 seconds, but the next 5 to 8 seconds are all about creating the best shot possible. And Golden State aren't allowing that. So they're dictating the terms of engagement and they're winning that battle. Boston are playing Golden State basketball. When you come to that third quarter, Boston come out, they're playing high ball pressure, their pickup points are higher, and now they're dictating the terms of engagement. And all of a sudden, you're successful again. That Jordan Poole three just took the air out of the tires, dude. That was just like someone just come up, just pop the tires. You come out in the fourth, energy's flat, and all of a sudden, Golden State are back in control and dictating the terms again. And then, the refs obviously played a part. I don't like blaming the refs, but I do feel like their fingerprints are on this game.
It's, I mean, I don't like blaming the refs either, and I feel like that's super cliche when we say that because everybody says, "Oh, whenever Boston loses, all they do is blame the refs." I want to ask them, do they watch the same game? Now I get it; the refs don't get calls right for both teams, but the refs blatantly make sure that the Celtics don't get certain calls, or they call the worst stuff ever at the worst time ever. for the Celtics. And it always happens to Celtics. And we watched it all season long. So I don't expect the refs to be any different. You just think in the playoffs, they're going to let guys play, especially when they let them play a quarter or two. You're like, all right, the refs are going to let them play basketball. And then next thing you know, here comes a bogus call. Like I was just watching the Grant Williams foul call that they called with Grant. Was it who was it? Was it Jordan Poole? Can't remember off the top of my head. He was going by Grant. I think Grant put his hand on him. Jordan Poole tripped over his own foot, and it was a foul on Grant. It's like the refs clearly are just missing the right calls because they saw a paw go on a player. It's almost like if you walk by me and I just tap you as you go by, like, yeah, just go on by me. You know what I mean? And so, and then there was another play where Grant gets pulled down by the arm, and then they call a foul on Grant. And so, it's hard for him to implement his will on the game when the refs are doing certain things. Now, I'm not blaming the refs. The Celtics got to find a way how to come out there and be aggressive. And you say that they're not dictating the game, and I think that comes down to aggression. Now we got to figure out how to separate aggression from dumb shit stuff, right? Because Jaylen Brown is probably the most aggressive player, but he's over aggressive, right? He's careless with the ball. He's turning the ball over. At one point, at the half, he was leading the team with 3 turnovers. I think he had 2 more in the rest of the game, if I'm not. Might have been 3 more. But when you look at Jaylen Brown, you're saying, yes, you like his aggression because when he's on, he's on. When he's hitting that mid-range, which he needs to do more, when he's hitting that mid-range, he's on, and then he's able to help the Celtics dictate how they're going to play basketball. What I didn't like from last night's game was the one-on-one action, like that ISO ball. It was too much Tatum, too much ISO. And you want to see it when there's a mismatch, right? But you called it. They're collapsing. As soon as Tatum goes by, there's 2 guys waiting for him. There's not enough time for him to pass the ball. You saw a ball sail out of bounds because he knew they were collapsing. He knew he was going to get rid of the ball, and the ball just went flying over everybody's head. Like, if that's Golden State playing good defense, then okay, I'll give them credit for it. But I just feel like the Celtics, again, they're their own Achilles, man. They make careless turnovers. I'm okay with that type of a turnover. That was a defense causing a bad pass. I'm talking about just dribble, and the ball go the other way turnover. Or why we dribble so much? Like, what is going on? How about we just pass the ball until somebody gets open? Somebody's going to get it. I don't care if Al Horford shoots threes the majority of the game. Just rotate the ball to the open shooter. And one of the biggest takeaways from last night, minus the turnovers, bro, was the bench. No one showed up, bro. How many points did the bench have? 5?
Barely. I mean, Udoka even said that's why Tatum and Brown played so much, right? Because they weren't getting anything from the bench. So he's like, hey, I had to roll with JB and JT because
they were tired, man.
We don't have the same. The impact from the bench wasn't where it usually is. So I have to run with these guys because at least they're giving us some form of impact. And I think for me, like, they were running their screening sets. They were running their inverted screens to force mismatches. They were running their corner actions to open up the side for driving lanes. But there was no secondary action, right? So you can force the mismatch. You can generate an open corner pick and roll so you have space to attack on the curl. But unless something's happening on the weak side as a decoy action or an action to free somebody up, I like to call it as a release valve. When the defense collapses on you and that pressure's there, you have somebody that's your release valve where they're good catch and shoot guard. You can kick the rock and the pressure's off, and boom, you've got that opportunity to score off the catch. There was no second side action. There was no secondary screens. We saw them go to a few stack, which is where you have 2 guys set screens, one there. So it's like directly in a line, kind of like back screen, or front step up, however it wants to be. They run some stack, and they haven't really run much of that like in open play through the season. And it was just awful, man. The spacing was really bad. You'd have like Al Horford screen for JT, but then Horford would roll directly into the paint and be sitting like mid post. And then now all of a sudden, JT's got nowhere to go in the paint because Horford or Rob are situated in the middle of the paint. And now that just allows Golden State to show a crowd. You know what I mean? You need to roll and then hit the dunker spot. If someone's in the dunker spot, relocate to the far side corner, to the weak side. Don't sit in the paint. And if the dump off doesn't come almost instantly, get out of there, because that means JT, JB, Derek White, they want that space to be able to attack into. And by situating yourself there, waiting for that dump off, you're allowing everyone to clog. And that was a big issue for me. I think the spacing's been quite bad for the majority of game 4 and 5. There's just no movement off ball, and it's really hurting Boston's ability to attack the rim. And against a team with no rim pressure, they're struggling. They were having easier times scoring on the Milwaukee Bucks in games 4, 5, 6, and 7 than what they are on the Golden State Warriors. How, bro? Riddle me,
I
because
know.
it makes no sense.
They're going to argue and say it's because of Draymond Green and I'm like, what? No, I think you just summed it up. I think that was it. I mean, it's over freaking crowded, right? Every time I watch them drive, there's like three guys. Are they trying to get an offensive rebound? No. Tatum can finish. Just got to give him space. Remember, Tatum and Brown. I might not have watched enough Celtics basketball to notice what I saw last night, but for the first time in my life, I can honestly say they're not looking for contact, right? They're looking to avoid it. I watched Brown and Tatum get to the basket, hit some unbelievable shots last night, and you were hoping they would get a call or two by driving, but the refs just weren't calling it. But there was one Brown play where he did this. I don't even know how he made it. I think he got the foul call on it too, matter of fact. But it was like they are not looking to get hit as they drive. So if you can uncrowd that space and let them have that one on that big guy or whoever's guarding them, it'll be more successful for them hitting those shots. And so they're revolting to jump shots. They're going back to their fall switch. And I feel like the Celtics 2 quarters, bro, third quarter and the fourth quarter, had them in 3 fouls. They had the team with 3 fouls 2 times, and they couldn't attack the basket. Like, that is basketball, like 101. Like, I'm scratching my head saying, why are they not being aggressive? Why are they not going after the guy that has the anybody? Just get fouled again. Shoot free throws for the rest of the game. There was 8 to 9 minutes, bro, on the clock for both quarters where the Celtics could have been in foul and shooting free throws. It wouldn't have mattered because they were missing them. But still, you want to be in a situation where you control. You said that they need to dictate. If Golden State is doing something that's causing the Celtics to turn the ball over, right? The Celtics had the factor to where they could have annihilated that and just shot free throws and forced Golden State guys to just be in foul trouble. And so you saw when Clay got his 5th foul or 4th foul, they took him out of the game. They inserted Jordan Poole. He hits that miraculous shot, and you're just like, oh, man, here we go again. We lost the last time he hit a buzzer beater. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just like the Celtics shoot themselves in the foot, and I'm going to say that over and over again. They're their own enemy. Like, and the fact that they overcrowd the paint to jump off of what you said makes perfect sense. Dude, get out of paint. Al, why the hell are you in the paint? You're not blocking anybody's shots. Get out. Al could be in the corner, and that's why I want to see Grant Williams more. Grant won't be in the paint. And I think Grant is probably one of our best on-ball perimeter defenders, right? He's able to get there. Yeah, he still goes under screens and stuff like that, but still, he was overcrowding space, not getting fouls. And so he'll be waiting in that corner. If Al could slip out of that paint, get to the corner, have Rob slip out a little bit just in case they need to get a rebound or whatever, we'll be fine. Or no, Rob, move. Because guess who can get their own rebounds? Tatum. He can get it. I watched Wiggins. So we lost to Wiggins last night.
Yeah, basically, yeah. This was Wiggins' best game of his career, man.
Career, bro. Career. And I tip my hat to the guy, former first-round pick, former first pick. Like, I tip my hat to him. He showed up. He found. But then again, let go back and rewatch the game. They found a mismatch. He exploited it all night long. Derek White, I don't know what his plus and minus number was, but he was letting Wiggins get off. And there's nothing you can do about it because of size. It's not his fault. It's just that that's what they were seeking. They were looking for that because Curry just wasn't on. And the one game, Adam, the one game where Curry is struggling, we lose.
And that's the worrying part, right? Curry doesn't
Yes.
play well and you lose. Now, look, man, I've been of the mindset that Andrew Wiggins is the most explosive wing in this series. He's more athletic than Jaylen Brown, more
Okay.
explosive than Jaylen Brown. You cannot let them get that mismatch and not rotate over on the outside, like with the outside low man. Especially when your low, like your weak side low man is most likely going to be Robert Williams, the one player on the floor more athletic than Andrew Wiggins. If anyone's going to be able to meet him up high, it's Robert Williams. So what, you know what I mean? You need to get back to your defense. I think that Boston have moved away from playing Rob in that free safety role a bit because they're worried about, getting Klay Thompson, his shots, getting Steph going. You've got Jordan Poole to be concerned with. Draymond Green's going to do some crazy stuff. You saw that fake DHO, drives, dunks it. You have to be concerned with what Draymond's going to do. But Rob is your best bet at containing somebody like Wiggins once they get into the lane. On the perimeter, Derek White can hold his own, but once Derek White gets blown by, you need to match athleticism with athleticism at the rim. Otherwise, you get statement dunks like Andrew Wiggins threw down on Derek White's head. I mean, I'm not one for a single game plus minus. I don't think it shows you much at all because it doesn't take into context like your matchups, your rotations, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
But Derek White ended with minus 19. So, he got exploited. But that's my problem, right? Because, like, you go onto the offensive end and you've got Tatum hunting Jordan Poole, Tatum hunting Steph. He's getting into the lane. If the spacing was there for points, do you know what I mean? You have Rob in the dunker spot. That's where you want him. But then, like, when the spacing was there, they were pinching in. Like, so what had happened is Tatum would penetrate, someone had stunt at him while his man's there. So it's like it forces you to pick up the ball. We saw that happen to him whenever he got to the mid post. Whenever he got past that mid post, people were stunting on him. And all of a sudden, the difference between what Andrew Wiggins was doing with his mismatches and what Tatum was doing with his, was Wiggins was decisive. Wiggins knew, like, I'm going to the hoop or I'm driving and kicking. He had his decisions made. And Tatum, this was one of Tatum's better games of the finals. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
And Tatum's not the only one. The entire Celtics team were too cautious. They didn't make their decisions and stick to their guns. And what we saw when the best game of this series for Boston was game 3, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
where they were very aggressive, pressured the rim, found their passing lanes, knew what they wanted to do every single possession. Far too many times did we see, like, there was one play that sticks in my mind. Derek White gets the ball on the wing, looks at Al Horford, goes to pass it, decides against it, shoots. By the time you've done that, by the time you've just looked at Al, gone to pass, come back, the defense is there now, bro. Like, when Derek White was at his best earlier in the series, it's because he was like, boom, I'm shooting, boom, I'm driving.
He was decisive.
And that decision making and that, like, those quick decisions generate intensity. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the quicker you decide things, the faster that you're playing, the more intense it is to try and guard you. And that intensity builds off that decision making. It's called a 0.5 or a 0.5 offense. That's what Udoka likes to run. When you get the ball, you have 0.5 seconds to make a decision. Am I going to pass? Am I going to shoot? Am I going to drive? You don't have to act on it within that split second, but you have to know what you're going to do. So boom, up the ball. And that's what Monty Williams runs with the Suns. It's what Greg Popovich runs with the Spurs. It's what Udoka's been preaching all season, this 0.5 offense. At the moment, it's like 0.3 offense. You know what I mean? It's like 3 seconds to make a decision. They're just too slow. And Golden State just have too much championship experience that if you're not attacking them instantly every time, knowing what you're looking for, you're screwed, man. Screwed.
Yeah.
Even if you get the ball and you're calling for the screen, I want that screen now. At least you've got action happening. There's too much, as you said earlier, it's too much high pick and roll, single possession basketball.
It's just too much. I mean, you want to see it, but then you also want to see the ball rotate. But by the time that they get to that high pick and screen, that high action ISO, all of a sudden you think there's a one-on-one matchup. The moment that Tatum gets into a corner, and it always happens on Tatum too. I don't know if you peeped it. Like they know that they're trapping him at that high point, and so especially when he gets to like the high block of the top of the key, he gets to that little corner right there. They're like, oh snap, there's Tatum, and then here comes the next guy, and you watched him turn the ball over. It was like he didn't know what to do with he knew what to do with the ball, but they came so fast. Golden State, they're fat, they're athletic, they're those young guys. This is what keeps them in the game. Like Gary Payton Jr., Jordan Poole, like even Devin, like those young dudes are keeping them in the game, right? And so you're saying to yourself, all right, they're not much of an impact scoring wise. Like you don't got to necessarily worry about Jordan Poole, but he can hit a big shot and just take the life out of your team, which is what he did. And the reason why I was mad at Ime was because when they hit that shot, it went into the timeout for the fourth quarter. When we came back out, we have a different lineup. So I didn't understand the lineup switch, right? And if you say to me, Adam, well, we needed to give Marcus Smart a break. If you say that to me, I can say okay, but I still don't get it because Marcus Smart could have played that whole game. He would have, played every single second of that game if he had to. Marcus Smart was probably the second best player, most impactful player on the court. When you needed a bucket, he drove. When you needed this, he did it. He did everything he needed to do. As much as we like to get on Marcus Smart about taking dumbass shots, I felt like he took 0 dumb shots yesterday. Right? 0. But it didn't help us for the simple fact that we kept turning the ball over. Everybody had turnovers. And at the end of the day, that rotation, he put White back in the game. And I said, oh man, this is not going to fare well. That was the play you're talking about with the Al Horford. And he caught the ball. He said, catch and shoot. Catch and shoot. I'm okay if he catches it, takes a sidestep, gets a clear shot. There was nobody in his way. He looked, then he shot, and it was off. And that's when you said, oh man, this ain't going to work. Now, I did like the aggression because Tatum attacked the basket. Didn't get the call. He missed the layup. They had numbers. They ran down. They got the ball, blah, 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 blah. They went up by 3, I believe, at that point. But I did like how it started. But that insert of Derek White, in my opinion, just changed the game. It changed the mindset. And it just, once the Celtics went in the hole, it was done. It was a wrap. There was nothing they could do if the other team had all the juju. And again, that's with Steph Curry not playing well. So I'm worried. Just a little bit. I'm confident, but I'm a little worried. I think maybe you just let Steph Curry do everything and take everybody else out. Can Steph Curry score 100 points, bro?
Well, this has been that was my defensive plan for Giannis. It was my defensive plan for Jimmy Butler. Limit the superstar, let everybody else beat you. Or take everybody out and make the superstar beat you on his own. The problem is, Steph has so much gravity, and the rest of the Warriors' defense is so good at getting shots off with no space. Clay can get his shot off with a hand in his face, still drain it. Jordan Poole can get a shot off with a hand in his face, still drain it. Steph can get so. I'm with you. Contain everybody else, let Steph beat you. Try and make him beat you. But teams have tried that and failed. You know what I mean? Because it's hard not to stick to defensive principles of rotating over when someone gets beat off the dribble. It's hard not to, when it's been ingrained in you, to help off the weak side corner when somebody's penetrated and they're pressuring the rim. So your natural instinct is to go and try and step into Steph's way, play the team basketball. And then Steph's just going to kick out. And Steph's movement's just so hard to keep track of, especially when he's just off ball and he's just running around like fucking crazy. It's tough, man. It really is tough. But I think for me, Marcus Smart went 3 for 9 from deep. I don't like Smart shooting that many shots, to be honest, from 3-point land. Yeah. But he was trying to win the game.
Yes, sir.
Especially in that first quarter, that first and second quarter, the first predominantly, it felt like Boston just didn't want to be there. They
Oh
came
my
out with
gosh.
such a negative energy, they either felt like they were going to win because they haven't lost back-to-back games in so long, or the pressure of the crowd and the fact that, you know, if you lose this game, you're one game away from elimination. It's the NBA final. There was something weighing heavy on them because they looked like they did not want to be there. And that was the biggest problem for me.
Mm-hmm. It was like they didn't show up. They started super slow. Um, the first half was just it was tough. It was tough to watch. I mean, they fought back. They got back to Celtics basketball in the second half because they closed the gap. Uh, and then that third quarter was their best third quarter all season. It's the best third quarter I've ever seen, and you saw it because in game 4 they had a good third quarter. They didn't let the Warriors go crazy in the third, right? And so you're like, oh, and we were up in game 4 by 5 in the fourth with like 5 minutes to go. I don't know, man. I look, Celtics got to stick to Celtics basketball. They got to stop forcing basketball. I think that's my biggest thing. So even if they show up with negative energy, bro, they proved to me with the negative energy that they can overcome it, right? They proved it. They proved it yesterday. Did they win the game? No. But you saw probably one of the best third quarters from this team that we love all season long, right? And not only that, I'm not talking about just offensively, I'm talking about defensively. Like they stopped the juggernaut third quarter team. Wiggins had what, 2 points in the third quarter? And then in the fourth quarter, he turned back up, right? I could be wrong. I don't have the stats in front of me, but he wasn't great in the third. And then in the fourth, when Ime made those adjustments really quickly, so all it took was a slight adjustment in the rotation. Wiggins gets back on his game, and he's back to Wiggins basketball because he was locating those mismatches. And like you said, once a guy sees their shot goes in, man, it's all going. Like they want the ball, and I tip my hat to that guy, yo, because he showed up. Whereas Jaylen Brown was probably like the second worst player in my opinion for the Celtics. Yes, I would say Derek White, but he's a bench guy. Unfortunately, maybe we need to switch the lineup. Let me ask you this question. They start Otto Porter now. Do you think that's screwing up the Celtics? I think you're on mute, or I messed up my headphones.
No, it was me. I think it's stretching that defense a little bit more. It's an extra ball handler. It's somebody that can operate in the catch and shoot. You can't really sag off them. And again, I do think that Boston have gone away from some of their switching a little bit compared to what they were before. They were pre-switching everything earlier in the postseason. And I'm not a fan of soft switches often, but I think that it adds to a certain level of intensity. I don't think they're switching as quickly. And I think that Otto Porter Jr. is another ball handler, another wing. You're putting another skilled player that can shoot on the floor. It is hard. I don't think you can make an adjustment now that's going to change the trajectory of this team. All it is now is about playing Boston Celtics basketball, dictating your own terms of engagement. And I'll wrap it up with this. Andrew, and I'm shocked at this. How many points do you reckon Andrew Wiggins had in the fourth?
It looked like did he have maybe 8 points in the fourth?
He had 4 points, but his impact was so big. 6 rebounds and two of them on the offensive.
He only had 4 points.
But his fingerprints were all over that game, dude.
Okay.
Like in that fourth quarter, it felt like he was dominating and he only scored 4 points.
That's crazy.
That shows you what you can do when you just play with effort and hustle. You know what I mean? And no one's matching your athleticism. And that's the problem. He was the most explosive guy on the floor last night, and he was on the same floor as Jaylen Brown and Robert Williams. You shouldn't be the most explosive guy when Robert Williams is on that floor with you. It's inexcusable.
Ease, bro. Like he took the ball.
First step.
He had more ISO ball than our whole team, and it was because of the mismatch. But he got to the rim and he finished and got fouled.
Yeah, see, Tatum's getting to the rim, but he ain't finishing.
He's not
Brown's
finishing.
getting to the rim, not
Not
finishing.
finishing.
Then they're not converting their free throws, like not including this game. So from games 1 through 4, Tatum's finishing 50% at the rim.
That's
Like
ridiculous.
for somebody of his talent level, like that's just not good enough, especially against a team with no rim protection. And I'm going to keep saying that because Kevon Looney is not a rim protector. Draymond
No.
Green is not a rim protector, and that's my biggest issue. But this is the first of many shows, so we're going to have good things to talk about in the future. You know what I'm saying? Me and Wayne here, we're going to get our schedules down pat. We're going to sort out what days we're going to do, and then we'll be coming at your domes regularly. Until then, make sure to go, if you're a football fan, make sure to go and check out Wayne's channel. He's doing mainly 49er stuff, but you know, he's the NFL guru out here. He's a good friend of mine. I'm happy to be doing the show with him. And make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and comment button, y'all. Peace.